Thank goodness. Hi all. It's Crystal here from Fat Product Review. So excited to talk with Pia Schiavo Kempo today. She has a blog called The Chronicles of the Mixed Black Chick. No, Mixed Black Chick. Mixed Fat Chick, sorry. Mixed Fat Chick. And that's the website, mixedfatchick.com. And I got to meet Pia at the Body Love Conference like 6 years ago, this past April. A conference put on by the amazing Jess Baker, the Militant Baker. And I got to meet so many amazing people, including Pia there. And it was just such an amazing, I wish we could have a Fat Body Love conference every year, every day. But it was a huge event. And it was so much fun. It was in Tucson at the university and so many great speakers. And just, yeah, I made some great friends there. So shout out to Jess. I so appreciate that conference. But yeah, tell everybody a little bit about you and like your experiences and what you were doing at the Body Love Conference, and just tell it so people know who you are.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you again for having me on the show. I'm super excited. And you are one of the people I feel like I've had a long-standing relationship. Like we've kept up with each other after all this time. And so the Body Love Conference, like you said, was such an amazing event, such a space where I think people felt really comfortable and safe. And so I was actually talking about the thin white ideal and how that plays out in the media. And just this idea of Eurocentric beauty standards where there's all this pressure for us to kind of conform to that. And it was a really great opportunity to just hear from other folks,
Yes.
not just from people of color, but white folks who we're all feeling that same thing. And so yeah, that was 6 years ago, and I've been blogging for about 10 years, which is crazy to me. It feels like yesterday. And so, yeah, I think I'm in a place where I haven't done a lot of blogging because I'm finding that, especially during the pandemic, like who has time? God bless you if you do. But I'm much more active on social media, especially Instagram. And so that's sort of been like my micro blogging, is just doing that through Instagram.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. And clearly you're a fashionista when we can just see that in your fashion and your style right here. And you blog or microblog a lot about fashion and stuff. And yeah, so neither one of us are thin or look like a Barbie. And I am white, but I don't have blue eyes. I don't have blonde hair. So that's kind of like the standard, right?
Totally.
Tiny waist, big boobs, tiny feet.
Old. Yeah, right.
Your breasts are way up here. It's not reality for most humans.
It's not.
Right? And who would want to, why do we all want to look that way? I mean, we don't. It's horrible. And I'm always hoping people can expand their idea of what beautiful is, right? And I know it's difficult for some people. But I know, it's not easy to be a fat person, but I know it's even more difficult to be a fat person of color, right? Because so many more demands are made of you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I also hold a certain amount of privilege, even being a Black woman who's considered to be fat. There are people who would not say that I'm fat, because I think that I live in like a plus size body that is somewhat socially acceptable because I have an hourglass figure, right? And
palatable.
It's palatable. And I'm mixed. So I have lighter skin, and therefore I think I'm less threatening. I don't fall into the awful stereotype of like the angry Black fat woman, right? That horrible trope. And so I think that I've been able to navigate that space a lot more easily. But it definitely doesn't exclude me from feeling marginalized or having experienced things like that. And I often feel that when people see a confident Black woman of size who's unapologetic and knows her shit, they are automatically on the defensive. It's uncomfortable. It's, how dare you be that comfortable with yourself?
You fat bitch.
Right. And I'm a very outgoing person. I'm very empathetic. I'm very friendly. And so I'm the opposite of what they're expecting. And so in a lot of ways, I feel like it's my job to kind of break that down, not in the way of like, look at me, but more like I get to just show up as my genuine self. And then hopefully that starts to break down the barriers. And if it doesn't, then I will tell you about yourself. That will
Yes.
happen if necessary. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, same for me, but I'm to a point in my life where I don't give a fuck. And I'm also of an age where I'm like, I don't give a fuck. So it it didn't come naturally to me. Like, right. I mean, it came naturally to me, but I didn't really have that confidence until I was more like in my mid 20s. And
Mm.
then as the older I got, the less fucks I gave. And
Mhm.
I feel too, like, since I have a voice, I can speak up sometimes. I should almost, it's like almost like a requirement that I should definitely say something because I can, and some people can't, right? Some of us never find our voice ever.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I came very late to that party, and being part of this community has helped me to get there over the past 10 years. And I also just want to say that, like, I don't feel that way every single day, every single moment. I would say as a whole, if I were to compare where I was 10 years ago to now, it's a
Mhm.
180, right? It's a complete change. Um, but at the same time, when you're dealing with that stuff on a daily basis, it can eat at you, pun intended. Like it does. It can start to wear you down because you're just like, really, can I just exist in this body and just you can just leave me the fuck alone so I can live my best life and you do you. And
Right.
so, what I want is for young girls, especially young girls of color, is to see themselves represented in positive ways
Yeah.
and to just feel like you get to just explore your interests and who you are without apology, without restraint. Because I
Right.
think for me and for so many of us, like, we felt we had to look and be something that we were never going to be,
Mhm.
and that's heart-wrenching. And I want all women and really all people, to
Right.
just
Of
feel like
course.
I'm perfectly perfect as I am. Nothing
Yes.
needs to change.
I think a lot of times people feel like fat women are too much, right? Or too extra or whatever. But I think that Black women get that especially, right? Just
Good time.
tone it down, stop being so angry. And there's I know some of that comes because there's so little representation for
Mhm.
your body type and for just, well, I mean, white is the de facto standard. No matter what people make a Band-Aid or they cast a commercial, right? It's always going to be the de facto is going to be the white people. And then
Mhm.
they'll think down the line, oh, I need to better marketing, so I need to include Black people.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like, it doesn't come natural. Just white is the de facto, just white
Right.
people, skin, white, whatever.
And I think that one of the things that we're seeing a lot, even though we're starting to see more fat female protagonists in the media and TV shows and films, they are still mostly white. And so when I think about TV shows like Shrill, which, it's a great show, and people talk about her best friend, who the Black British woman who plays that character. But at the same time, like, she is very much the sounding board, right? She's not the main character. She's the
Right.
supporting character who's the sidekick, right? And I think that's what often happens is that fat Black women have to be like the funny sidekick, always on a diet, like always bringing attention to her, her largeness, or, being self-deprecating. And it's so frustrating and so boring
Boring,
because I'm like,
exactly.
there's so much more. Like, this is nothing in sort of like if we're looking at the big picture of who
Humanity.
of humanity, right? And like the
Right. Yeah.
characteristics that people are interested in. And so I do get disappointed with that.
Mhm.
And I think Shrill had a second season, right? Doesn't it? I
Never
think it had a
watched it.
second season.
Mhm.
So it's great to see those kinds of things, but I think there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Um,
There's just very little fat representation anywhere in the media, right?
very
You start to
little.
see it a little bit more in commercials and stuff. I see where they, okay,
Same.
we got our Black person, we have our Hispanic person, let's get one fat person, and we'll get a blonde person, and so I see more of them, like the Marshalls commercial, or, whatever, the Big Lots commercial has a large person. I'm like, okay, hey, thank
Right,
you. Thank you
right,
for
right,
that. Breadcrumbs,
right, right.
breadcrumbs.
And then sometimes that person will be like the person who has the attitude, or, it's like they're speaking in Black vernacular, as though they're just this trope, right? Of, hey, this is how Black people talk and this is how they act. And,
All of them.
we've ticked off our diversity box. And it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, you have a very narrow view of,
Yeah.
of Blackness.
You
So
wonder what their actual world is like. It must be very sad. But and so let's talk a little bit about fashion since you are a fashionista, and it's still there's still. I mean, I know you're probably wearing sweats right now because it's a pandemic or whatever, but yeah, I know I see your posts and you're always so amazingly gorgeous. But
thanks.
fashion is still an issue too. I mean, it probably will be for a long time as far as sizing and styles and,
Big time.
just making clothes that look like, for your grandma.
I
You find
agree.
stuff.
You know what? So style, I always describe that as my self-care.
Mhm,
So it's like the way that, for so long I could not access, or I couldn't find ways to sort of express myself through fashion because, as you just said, the pickings were slim, and we've come a super long way, and I'm very grateful for that. However, not everybody has caught on, and even when they do catch on, the extended sizes are really only extended to maybe a 24 or 26. So we're still not being that inclusive when we think about people who live in much larger bodies than that.
mhm, mhm.
And that
Yeah, I
kind
personally wear a 28. I can, at the
right.
closest, I live in a city of 2 million people. At the mall where I like to shop, there are like 150 stores. And there used to be three stores I could shop at there, but now there's two. So the other 147 stores are made for people that don't look like me. So that's
Mhm.
not a lot. And I'm in a big city. I can't
Right.
imagine what it's like for people who live in, Nebraska or Iowa or
Sure.
nothing but Walmart typically for them to buy clothes. And
Mhm.
it's unfortunately, as far as brick and mortars, it's getting less and less, fewer and fewer.
It really is. And I think what's been exciting is to see online retailers, really kind of starting to see us and seeing the things that we like and knowing that we want to spend money. What drives me crazy, like I was shopping the other day, and I love discount shopping. Like if I can get a deal, I'm all over that. So I
Mhm.
was in a TJ Maxx, and I went to the plus size section, and no, it was Marshall's, and it was
Mhm.
literally behind a column that was like 3 feet by 3 feet. You literally could not even get to it. And that was the
Oh,
plus size section. It was maybe 3 feet wide. I couldn't even get in there. And I
no, my
thought,
butt won't fit in
talk
there.
about an afterthought.
Right. Yeah,
I was like, this is some bullshit right here.
it is.
Why bother?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for here at the other mall that I don't like, it used to be almost like 3/4 of a mile to get downstairs into the basement where the plus sizes were. It was a Macy's store. And you
Ugh,
would have to park like on the second story and then go down 2 floors and then walk all the way to the very back where the toilets are. I'm like, thanks. Thanks a lot for
right.
that. Wow. But hey, they want me to get my exercise, so they want to put it as far away from the door as possible.
Right, right. We don't want you to feel embarrassed shopping for your big clothes. And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like, come on, people.
Yes.
I mean, but to see it come such a long way, I is very, very exciting to me. I think we still have a lot of work to do, and one of my big dreams has always been to put together a line. I don't think I have the bandwidth to do it right now,
Yeah.
but it is hard to find like the things that I like because my style is very eclectic.
Mm,
I don't shop a certain store and it's like my style is this. My style is
yeah.
everywhere depending on my mood. And so for me, it's been a lot about thrift shopping, or like there's a beautiful boutique here that one of my close friends owns called Runway
Mm,
Boutique.
mm,
And she's really conscious about making sure that she has plus size clothing in the store. Is it a huge variety? No, but it's also a tiny boutique. It's
mhm.
vintage. But she speaks to that customer. And so for me, it's like, it's figuring out the pieces that make me feel good. And so I'm often here, there, and everywhere. I will shop anywhere basically, to find something that's a deal and to find things that work for me. I'm not really big on trends.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
big on style and like
Mm.
what I feel looks good in that moment, or even things that I feel like are going to look great in 10 years.
Yes, classic pieces. So I think that you have that style where you're not trying to hide, right? I mean, this is clearly from your bold earrings and, your cute off the shoulder shirt. You're not looking for those, things that those like mass manufacturers make where you can
Right.
just, go hide, fat girl. You're making a statement, right? Which is not easy for everybody. Not all fat people are comfortable doing that, but that's kind of your thing, right? One of your things.
It is, and it's interesting because I sometimes will think about sort of fat influencers on Instagram who,
Mhm.
pose in their underwear and stuff like that, which I think is great. I love it. I think it's a great way to normalize all bodies, but that's not me. So like, I sometimes have felt like, oh, am I doing enough because I'm not in a bathing suit? And it's like, Pia, there is a lane for everyone, right?
Yep.
And it's like,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that you are less loving of yourself because you choose to not be in your unders in front of
Right.
everybody. Like,
Yeah.
that's something that's reserved for me and my partner.
Sure.
Yes, I want to be seen in the sense that I love color and I'm unafraid of,
Yeah.
like, the more accessories, the better, more is
Mhm.
more. So yes, in that way, I am hard to miss, and I think part of my goal with that is to remind people, number one, that like fat people can be stylish, and that we don't have to have these limitations about what we should be wearing, and that why should we go unnoticed? There's absolutely no good reason for that. I am bringing joy to the world, honey, with my outfit.
Yes, exactly, you are.
Appreciate.
You
I will
know, I used to tell my, friends and customers and stuff, no matter how much black clothes you wear, and it's not a good example today because 'cause I'm wearing my black blouse,
I am too.
but no matter how much black you wear, we can still see your size. And especially, like, if people were in the dating world, I'm like, he or she knows how big you are, and they still want to have a second date with you. They still wanna get naked with you. I
Yeah,
promise you, no matter how much camouflage you wear, you can still see how much space I take up.
yeah,
Just so as long as you're like a present to the world, so dress up like you're a present, put a big bow on and colorful wrapping paper. You don't have to try to mute yourself, and that's the message we get, though, when we're in a fat body from a really
yeah.
young age.
Absolutely. And that's hard. I mean, there are so many messages telling us that we are supposed to shrink, that we are not supposed to take up that physical space, you know. And so it feels like a political act to just be like, you know what, fuck this. I'm fitting to put on some booty shorts and a crop top, and you're gonna just see my body. It really is kind of a fuck you.
It
Um,
is, yeah.
and I love when I see that. That gives me tremendous joy. I will stop you and be like, you are everything, because
Yes.
that's what we need. We need to sort of show that appreciation because
Really.
yeah, we really have to look out for one another, I think, in this.
Yeah, yeah. I swear whenever I go anywhere and I see other fat women, I was like, "Oh, how can I address them without seeming too creepy?" Like, I wanna be like, "You are so adorable," but want to be too weird. But sometimes it works out where it doesn't feel awkward. But I just if,
Most
maybe just a
people
nice compliment.
appreciate it. They appreciate being complimented.
Yeah,
Tell
for
that
sure.
they like put effort into it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I tell me that I look cute. Thank you.
But sometimes like I want to say, oh, I'll say, oh, cute blouse order, and that's easy. But like sometimes I want more. I want to be like, I love you. I want come into my world. Because
You're
you could
amazing.
just you could tell some people are just don't give a fuck, and I like people like that.
Yeah,
And especially fatties like that. And yeah, it's so amazing that we're kind of
totally.
getting to that point. And we still don't have a lot of representation in the media and stuff, but it's getting a little bit better, right? There's
Yeah.
like about Lizzo earlier and other,
Yes.
um,
She
it
is
just
definitely a champion of the fatness and the blackness. And that's why
unapologetic.
totally. And it's like I love her music, but I also just love who she is and what she stands for. And also understanding that like she is not perfect and that we also give sometimes too much power to celebrities. So like
Mhm.
early in her career, she let Oprah use one of her songs for a Weight Watchers commercial.
Right.
But in reflection, she was like, I was coming up and I didn't, I'm like, who do you say no to Oprah? So it's like, how do we not engage in that throwaway culture, and just be like, ugh, I'm going to shut you down. It's like, you know what? But look,
And
look
yeah.
at the benefits of what she's done. Like, how do we weigh that? I think she's just broken down a lot of barriers. I
Mhm.
really do. And that's very meaningful for me.
I wasn't that wild about the Weight Watchers commercial thing either, but you know what? I don't know where she was financially in her life. I've been there where I'm like, oh, well, okay. That you're
Right.
gonna help me pay my rent this month with your money?
Right.
Okay, I can't say that I would never say never, because I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, I don't love cancel culture for that reason. I think it's like you don't know other people's situation.
It's so
And
true. Yeah.
there's a few people that should be canceled, like our president, but we won't go there.
We won't.
Try not to go there. Um, Okay, I want to talk about your book that you have on your blog and that I know was you
Yeah.
co-wrote it with Ragen, you and one other author.
Yes, Jeanette DiPatti.
That's right. And then also illustrated by Toni Tails,
Right.
which I got to interview Toni so far. And I'm interviewing Ragen today. I need to interview
Jeanette.
I think I'm friends with her on Facebook too. I need to have her. So it's called Love It, 234 Inspirations. Forget the rest of the title, but it's $9.95 on Amazon, but people can link to it from your website.
Yeah.
So did you all just contribute different inspirations? Or was there 234 people that contributed, or how did that work?
No, so actually Ragen and Jeanette approached me several years ago. Gosh, it's been a long time. And they had been wanting to do that and wanted to make sure that the book felt inclusive. And so they really wanted to bring a Black perspective to the book. And so we all sort of contributed different parts and pieces to it. But they really are the ones that made it come to life because it was self-published. And so they did a lot of work on that back end. And then of course, Toni did her beautiful artwork for it. So yeah, definitely a great experience. And I think for the price too, like it's just one of those, like when I think about like my fatty bookshelf, you know what I mean? Of like books
Right.
that are meant to empower and to inspire. I think it's a must have because there's no pace for the book. I mean, you could literally just blindly open the book and go, oh, this is a great affirmation, or this might be a great activity. Whether it's for yourself or whether you're wanting to like facilitate, some kind of a group exercise. I
Right,
think it's
right.
a great guide in that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just interviewed a woman from a channel, and she has like a subscription box,
Okay.
and she curates Black literature, and then she sells it in a subscription box. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
That's
And
really
she's having an event on I think October 18th, and it's about
cool.
the book they're reading now, which is Black Girls and Fat Bodies. Like, ooh,
Ooh, will
sounds
you send me
interesting.
that information?
Sure, for sure.
That
Yeah, it
would
looks
be
great.
great. Okay.
And then the subscription box, I was like, that what a great gift to give to somebody, right? And she curates, besides the books, she also curates like little pins and things like that that are Black focused, and her authors for her books are like from the Caribbean and from all over, So anyway, what a great idea.
That's a
Yes, excellent.
brilliant idea. Yeah. I'm like, I want that subscription for myself.
I know. She was really cool. I don't know if you know Steph Penn, but she is her cousin. So she introduced me. She's like, Crystal, you gotta see this book that they're talking about their book club. So it's like I paid $25 for the book, and I get to be part of the book club, which has the author of the book on Zoom. So I'm excited for that.
That's awesome. Love it.
So your website is mixedfatchick.com, and that's where people can find the book link for $9.95. You buy it through Amazon.
Yep.
Does it come in Kindle or just paper form?
It does come in Kindle. Yes.
Oh, cool. I need it. I don't know why I don't have it, but so what would you think, like if I was, trying to tell somebody about it, what do you think they'll get from it?
You know what? I see it as like a form of self-care, right? So whether you're spiritual or not, but you want to sort of have some daily or weekly practice that helps to support acceptance of yourself. That's how I sort of see it as like a tool in your toolkit of self-love, of body acceptance. It's like, if you're feeling stuck or you're just having one of those days where you're like, I'm not feeling myself today, I'm struggling. I love the book to just be able to open it and go, okay, this is what I needed to hear, right? Or, maybe you just send that message to a friend who is struggling and you just text it and go, hey girl, I saw this and this made me think of you, you know? So yeah, I think it's just a tool. It's a tool for growth and self-love.
Even those of us who are in the fat liberation world and the body acceptance world, like you said earlier, even we have our bad days, right?
Yes.
Because we all get so many messages constantly, right?
Yeah,
From everywhere that,
absolutely.
you're not smart enough, you're not white enough, you're not thin enough, you're not blonde enough, you're not whatever it is, and it's like,
Right. You're not young
it's,
enough.
you're not young enough. Yeah, that's a big one right now.
A big one. I just turned 45 this past month, um and I'm like you. The older I get, the fewer fucks I give, and I love being in my 40s. I'm like, bring it. Where's 50s and 60s? Like,
Yes, it gets so good. And the
it's
sex
so
gets better
good.
too, Pia.
You just feel more grounded in who you
Yeah.
are.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
A lot of fat people, we are not in our bodies a lot, right? We're kind of outside of our bodies because we're kind of like waiting And I think that probably happens to people of color too, right? You're just waiting for the person or the whatever to do something or say something. So you kind of always have to be on alert. And I know fat
Very
people have,
much.
so
And
we're kind of
I
not,
think that code switching thing of like, okay,
oh
I
yeah,
have to be nimble enough to know how I should behave in this situation or that situation as a survival tactic, right?
yeah. Mhm.
So that's very, very true.
So maybe that book can help you to kind of like be more grateful for your body. I know not everybody can achieve love of their body, but
Yeah,
I think a lot of people can still try to reach neutrality about their body. And so sometimes
absolutely.
loving your body is a big goal, but maybe the step in the middle is like, just feel neutral about your body. Whenever I have a really shitty day, I just remember all the things my body can, my fat body, like I'm a big fat person, okay? It could do so many things for me, right? If I saw you at lunch, I could hug you and I could talk
Yeah.
with you and, I could squeeze on my honey or pet a dog or I can walk to the beach or like my fat body, even though it's super fat, I can still do everything that I want it to do. And it still brings me a lot of pleasure. And fat people have lots of hot sex. I know nobody thinks we have sex, but we do. And our bodies are capable of so much pleasure, but it's easy to get down about it because
It
we're
is.
not whatever.
I appreciate the distinction that you made between love and just coming to a neutral place. And I think I
Hmm.
sometimes let myself think that if I'm not feeling like 1,000% and just amazing, that I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
So I think that is an important distinction for sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing your website and your fashion sense and your blog with us. And I just adore your social media page. I say keep it up. If you're watching this and you love our videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And we always love likes and shares. And Pia, when we hang up, I'll share Jamila's book club. It's called Call Number Box. And anyway, I have a video about it. She's great.
Thank you so much for having me. I
My
appreciate
pleasure. Nice talking with you. Now let's
it.
do
You
this
too.
again soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Pia.